What's up, everyone? It's Bones here. If you like buying cards and wouldn't mind helping a content creator out, feel free to use my TCG player affiliate link down below. It doesn't cost you anything to do so, except maybe an ounce of kindness. In today's video, I have more of a concept than an actual deck, and you'll see what I mean by that momentarily, but we're going to start here by using the Charge of the Light Brigade in order to mill 3 and get ourselves a search, kind of do the best case scenario here, as I also want to show the synergy between the archetypes, being able to get something like the Memento Fusion into the graveyard, which also requires a body so that you can use its graveyard effect, and being able to mill things like Wolf, the Wheeze, which can revive a Lightsworn, and then things like Felice, which can get you that body, is just really nice in my opinion, but there's even more than that you can just do. But we're going to get ourselves the dragon here, as we'll be able to revive the Wolf, and now we're going to be able to use the effect of the dragon, which will give us the ability to send another Lightsworn. In this case, we're going to send a Felice, revive the Felice off its own effect, and now instead of going into the Minerva, we're going to go into our Alimbertion, and the Alimbertion is going to be used so that we can get ourselves the Memento Dark Blade, which is a level 4 that we can search off the Alimbertion. But we're going to continue here by using the effect of the fusion so that we can get rid of the Alimbertion, so that when we use the Tatsu, we don't have anything that isn't Memento on field, and we're going to get ourselves the field spell. Now I'm getting the field spell because we'll be able to get the fusion later on. Now going to normal summon the Dark Blade, use the effect in order to special summon out the Witch, and now we can use the Witch in order to get ourselves a search for the Tatsu. We'll then be able to activate the Tatsu in hand, special summon it, and then we can use the effect of Tatsu on field in order to get some sense to the graveyard, sending the Gaddock, the Mace, and the Goblin. Now we're going to use the effect of the Gaddock and the field spell. The field spell will be able to revive the Mace, as we're then going to use the effect of Gaddock on field once we revive it so that we can get back the Goblin. And now we can use the effect of the Mace in order to get ourselves a search for the Memento Fusion. Now we'll be able to activate the Memento Fusion, returning cards from our graveyard into the deck, as we're then going to get our Twin Head Thunder Dragon, or whatever it's called, onto the field, as we'll get ourselves the destruction of the Goblin to get ourselves back the Mace along with the Trihorn. And from here we'll then be able to use the effect of the Fairy Witch, popping the fusion in order to get back the Goblin, use the effect of the fusion, which will then be able to revive the Dark Blade. Now we can use the Goblin in order to pop the Fairy Witch, and then get the couple mills for the Tatsu and the Memento combined, as we're now going to link away into the Herald with the Goblin and the Attic, so that's why we kept the Goblin there. But from here we'll then be able to continue by normal summoning or special summoning the Trihorn, go into our IP or SP, whatever you want to go into, and return 5 so that we can special summon out our Memento combined. And from here we can go on to the end phase, where we'll be able to use the effect of the field spell, getting back the Memento Fusion, giving us an end board of the Herald with a Fairy in hand. We then have the Memento Fusion, which can be a Guardian Chimera or the Memento Fusion, whichever you want to go into, and then this can be either IP or SP. Now for this next combo, I want to show a different kind of board the deck can make, and I'm just going to start with Dark Blade plus the Wheeze and a Wolf, as we're going to bring out our Fairy Witch. And I would like to point out that typically you do want to go through your Memento plays first because of the Tatsu's effect and needing your field to be nothing but Mementos or just nothing. But we're going to continue here by sending the Mace, Goblin, and Attic, and from here we'll then be able to revive the Attic, get ourselves the effect in order to return the Goblin. Now from here we'll then use the effect of Fairy Witch, which will pop itself for the Mace, and then we can use the effect of Mace, getting us access into the Memento Fusion. Now we'll be able to activate the Memento Fusion, which will return 2 from our graveyard so that we can go into the Twin, and now we'll be able to use the Twin, which will pop the Goblin in hand to get the Trihorn and the Mace again. So a lot like the regular Memento Fusion combos that I showed in my previous video. But from here we're then going to be able to activate the Memento Fusion in the graveyard, pop the Thunder, or the Twin Dragon, I keep on calling it Thunder, and then we'll be able to get ourselves another copy of the Fusion, also using the effect of the Fusion to get back the Goblin, use the effect of the Goblin, which will get ourselves the Combined and the Tatsu engrave, just sending the Tatsu for the extra name. But at this point we're going to go into the SP, use the effect of Wheeze in hand, and this is another really nice thing about the deck in my opinion, is if your Memento plays get stopped and you have something like Wheeze plus Felice or Wolf, you can continue from there just because you have that extender from hand. As we're then going to get our 2 mills here, we hit a Thrust along with the Wolf, as we'll then be able to go into our Minerva, and then we can use the effect of Minerva, which will send away a Wheeze and Felice, giving us 2 extra bodies to work with. And from here we're going to be able to either make a Synchro 8 or a rank 4, even a Link 4. If this were a IP Masquerena, you could potentially go into something like an Indestructible Apo, but at this point I think it's just better to go into the SP plus the Dweller, and we'll also be able to get the creation back from the graveyard with the Mace in hand, while also having the Memento Fusion in hand, so that we can set it and potentially have a Guardian Chimera or something like that during our opponent's turn. For the final combo, and this isn't really a combo, I just wanted to show how a test hand would look like, because because the deck really is a lot of gas, but what you're doing is straightforward. If you have your Memento card, you're going to do your Memento stuff first, and if you don't, then you're either just playing Lightsworn or Memento. And there are some cool things that you can do, say if you have a full Memento hand, literally just like one Lightsworn that you can't use, and that is that your Lightsworn becomes fodder for Guardian Chimera. But we're going to continue here by using the effect of Tatsu. We'll be able to send a couple to the graveyard, as we're going to send the Mace, the Attic, and the Goblin, as we'll use the effect of the Attic, revive it, use its effect in order to get back the Goblin. From here, we'll then be able to activate the Bone Party or destroy the Goblin. Then we'll be able to special summon out the Darkblade, use the effect of the Darkblade. At this point, we can special summon out the Witch, use the effect of Witch, which will net us a search for the Darkblade, as we'll then be able to use the effect of Witch to revive the Mace. At this point, the addition for the Darkblade was just follow up, as the fusion is going to be able to get us into more adds. We're going to get the field spell off the Mace now, and then we'll be able to activate it, as we're going to activate the Memento Fusion. And from here, we'll be able to go into our Twin, use the effect of Twin, which will then end up popping the Darkblade in hand, get ourselves the Trihorn along with the Mace. And now we can use the effect of the Fusion, popping the Fusion, in order to get another copy of the Fusion. And from here, we'll be able to use the Twins effect in the graveyard so that we can use the effect of the field as well, reviving the Goblin. And that's just really nice, as we'll be able to get a couple extra bodies on board. And now we're going to use the effect of the Goblin, which will then destroy the Darkblade so that we can keep the two Fiends on board. And we're going to get some sense to the graveyard, as we do get the combined in the graveyard. We can now go into the Herald. We'll then be able to activate the charge of the Light Brigade. We do hit a Wolf, which is pretty nice, but I don't think that we have a Lightsworn in the graveyard. We're still kind of limited in what we can do, as we're going to use the effect of the Wheeze, back the Dragon, as again, we didn't have a Lightsworn in the graveyard, and we do hit a Felice, so I guess that's pretty nice. We're now going to go into a Minerva, use the effect of Minerva, which will send the Wheeze along with Felice, as we're going to use both effects in order to revive the Dragon and the Felice. And now we're going to be able to use the effect of Dragon, which will get us yet another body, so we're going to get a Wolf now. And from here, we have a few options where you can go into rank 4s. In this case, I'm going to show that you can actually make a rank 12 if you want an extra draw. You could have also gone into a Synchro 8. There's just a ton of options that you have at that point. Link 2s as well, but we're going to go into the Centurion level 12 that lets us draw one just for the extra card advantage. We do hit a Dragon, which is really nice, but we're going to go into the IP. Then we can go into the Dweller, and I would like to point out that technically you could have also made the SP here, and then maybe made like an IP next to it if you wanted to do that for the Appaloosa, but it really depends on what you're going for, as you also have the ability to special summon out the Trihorn, use the effect of the Dragon. Then we don't have the ability to send, since I believe we've already used that off the Revival. We're now going to be able to use the 3 monsters that we have left in order to go into an indestructible Appaloosa. And again, if you didn't want to go for the Appaloosa straight away, as mentioned, you could have just gone for something like SP and IP instead. But now we'll be able to bring back the Creation, and then we'll be able to set the Memento Fusion, and with this we can pass on to our opponent with the Dweller along with the Herald, the Appaloosa negations, the Creation being able to get something back, which if you do keep the IP in hand, it means that you just get IP fodder. And then you also have the ability to either turn the Mace into a negate fodder for the Herald, or even use the Snatch Steal effect and Trap effect that you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls, take control of it until the end phase. With all of the combos out of the way, we can get onto the deck profile. The experimental parts of this was, I felt like just the Darkblade, Fairy Witch, Bone Party, and the Memento Fusion already gives a very strong engine, pretty consistent in regards to what it wants to do, being able to get yourself to your Fairy Witch, Darkblade, or the Darkblade, be special summoned via the Bone Party, same thing with the Fairy Witch. Almost guaranteed to see your Memento monsters is really nice, and then having the ability to have the Memento Fusion go into the Twin is really nice. But I would also like to point out that there are merits into playing these, which is the fact that you actually do get more value off of your Memento cards if you do play them, just because you can go into your Memento plays, you also get the end board of the Creation with potentially the Fusion and whatever, that you also get to revive your Fairy Witch if you do want to play that. And then you'll also see it's stuff like the Crossout. And again, I think that this whole section really is optional and up for how you may want to fix it, but I do think that the 3 most important hand traps to combat for this deck are Imperm, Veiler, and Ash, and then there's also shoutouts to things like Shifter and Nibiru, which of course you also want to prep for. Then I also would like to talk about the potential options. We're going into the Fairy using 2 Fiends, and you can also go into the Unchained, get yourself Sharvara, and especially in a mill deck like Lightsworn, there's potentially things that you can do there, but I just felt it was so much extra deck space that it may not be worth it. Same thing with the Oxilla Crimson Dragon play for the hot red. I didn't feel that was worth it either, just because it's so much space. There are options that you can play here, the Zeus, Typhon, and number 41 if you don't want to play things like the Alan Burstyn, which may be a little bit harder to bring out, even though I do feel like the Alan Burstyn is kind of realistic to make, because you typically do have that extra extender from hand. You're not starting just with one card, and milling a Lightsworn isn't all that crazy for Dragon. I just think that's worth pointing out. Then of course there's the Redoer. The Redoer is important because it can remove itself off the field, which you need for Tatsu. There's the Dweller for the end board. I also would like to talk about the Black Goat Laugh, which is another card that you can potentially play, and there is a world where maybe you can play the Horus stuff with this. Then you can even pitch cards like this from the hand to the graveyard. There's also the Trap if you want to play that. Keldo Mudora are other options. Then of course I would like to point out that we do play the Reinforcement of the Army along with the charges, so Raiden is a potential option, but again it depends on if you want to play it or not. With all of that out of the way, I'm just going to get onto the card by card. We have the one copy of Called By, the two Crossout, the one copy of Imperm, Valor, Ash Blossom. We then have the one Creation, the one Goblin, the Mace. We then have the one copy of Trihorn, the one copy of Tatsu, the one Gaddock. We then have the three copies of Fusion, the one copy of the Field Spell, the two copies of the Wolf. We then have the three copies of the Bone Party, the three copies of the Fairy Witch, one copy of the 1-for-1, which can get you into your Mace or Goblin, which is really important. Then you have the three copies of the Dark Blade, the one copy of the Rhoda, the three copies of the Dragon, the three copies of the Weaves, the two copies of the Felice, three copies of Charge. Onto the extra deck, we have the one copy of Apo, Access Code, Unicorn, Herald, the one Dark, IP Masquerena. We then have the one SP, Radiant Chimera, and the Memento Twin Dragon for the Memento Fusion. We have the Centurion Legatia, the one copy of Minerva. We then have the one copy of Omega, the Alan Burstyn, Redoer, along with the Dweller to round out the deck profile. So for everyone who's made it this far, I'd like to thank you for watching, and for the 700 plus subscribers. I truly appreciate your support, and now that we've monetized the channel, giving us access to supers and memberships means that more awesome stuff is on the horizon. To get the channel membership, just click on the description below, and there will be a link that takes you there. You'll also notice a free Discord link that I've made for us too. If you want to support me as a content creator, even if you can't donate supers or get a membership for the channel, clicking on those thumbs up and subscribe buttons help a lot too. For those wondering, I do plan on making updates to the channel as the support on the channel grows. Anyways, I hope to see you on the next one. It's Bones signing